Welcome to Module 5 of the GTFCC online course on the identification of PAMI for cholera control. In this module, we will walk you through how to document PAMI identification and why to go through an external review of PAMI identification. After completing this module, you will be able to explain the benefits of a thorough documentation of PAMI identification, describe when to document PAMI identification, explain the benefits for countries of GTFCC PAMI reviews, describe when and how to request a GTFCC PAMI review. Let's start with the documentation of PAMI identification. There are key benefits in documenting PAMI identification. The preparation of the documentation is an opportunity to take a step back and reflect in a critical manner on what has been done or is being done. If any potential weakness or gap is identified, it can then be corrected. In addition, comprehensive documentation is also essential for traceability. As part of the documentation process, the method used, the decisions made, and the justifications for these decisions are recorded. This is particularly useful for future reference. The recommended approach to document PAMI identification is to do it near real time as opposed to documenting it on completion. This offers major benefits. First, documenting each step while it is being undertaken allows for near real-time improvement as needed. If the documentation is only initiated at the end of PAMI identification, any weakness or gap revealed through the documentation process would be much more difficult to correct. In addition, documenting each step near real time avoids losing sight of important information. Overall, it is recommended to initiate the documentation of PAMI identification right from the beginning and to finalize it rapidly after the stakeholder validation. The documentation on PAMI identification should include, at a minimum, a report on PAMI identification, the filled PAMI Excel tool, a map showing PAMI based on their priority index, and any additional PAMI based on vulnerability factors if applicable in your country. To prepare a comprehensive report on PAMI identification, we encourage you to follow the outline of the GTFCC template report. You can access this template by scanning this QR code. Overall, this template report corresponds to a checklist to make sure all critical points are addressed, including the methods such as characteristics of the dataset, calculation of the priority index, organization of the stakeholder validation, and the outcomes of PAMI identification, such as the priority index threshold selected and the rationale for selecting this threshold, the list of PAMI based on priority index, the list of additional PAMI based on vulnerability factors if applicable in your country, and lastly, the final list of PAMI. Let's look into external reviews of PAMI identification, also called GTFCC PAMI reviews. GTFCC PAMI reviews are independent technical reviews. They are performed upon request of national authorities by experts of the GTFCC using standard criteria. They aim to determine whether PAMI identification was performed in accordance with the GTFCC PAMI method and to ensure that deviations from this method, if any, have reasonable technical justifications. The identification of PAMI is of critical importance to target effective and efficient multisectoral strategies to control cholera. GTFCC PAMI reviews are an opportunity for countries to receive independent technical feedback as well as practical and constructive advice and recommendations. This is offered to countries in a spirit of partnership against cholera in order to support countries in maximizing the effectiveness and efficiency of their NCP. The feedback and recommendations provided through GTFCC PAMI reviews are not prescriptive. They are for the country consideration. The GTFCC supports all countries equally. Therefore, any country that identified PAMI is welcome to request a review. In addition, For countries which consider implementing preventive OCV or submitting their NCP for GTFCC endorsement, GTFCC PAMI reviews are formally mandatory. Other countries are warmly encouraged to request a review as well, although this is not mandatory for them. A GTFCC PAMI review should be requested as soon as the documentation of PAMI identification is completed, before planning interventions in PAMI. That way, it is easier for countries to take into account any feedback or recommendations arising from the review. Here is how the process looks like. As soon as documenting PAMI identification is completed, countries request a GTFCC PAMI review. Country stakeholders consider the feedback and any recommendation arising from the review. They make adjustments accordingly as needed and may then submit updated material for a second round of review. When the list of PAMI has been refined and consolidated as needed, countries then move to designing intervention strategies in PAMI. To request a GTFCC PAMI review, simply contact the GTFCC Secretariat at gtfccsecretariat@who.ent. Attach to your request your PAMI identification report, the filled PAMI Excel tool, the final list of PAMI, and a map of PAMI. You may provide this material in your national language. It is not mandatory to provide it in English. You will receive the outcome of the review within about 30 days in the form of a report. You are encouraged to consider the GTFCC feedback and recommendations to refine the list of PAMI accordingly in consultation with multi-sectoral stakeholders. You may submit the updated material for a second round of review. You will also use this report as documentary evidence to support your application for preventive OCV and to support your request for GTFCC endorsement of your NCP. As we wrap up this module, here are the important points to remember. Documenting PAMI identification near real time provides insights to identify potential issues and correct them throughout the process to improve the outcomes of PAMI identification. A GTFCC template report is available. Use it to prepare a comprehensive report on PAMI identification. Upon request, the GTFCC performs PAMI reviews to support countries in maximizing the effectiveness and efficiency of their multi-sectoral strategies to control cholera. It is recommended to request a PAMI review before planning interventions in PAMI. PAMI reviews are mandatory for countries which consider submitting their NCP for GTFCC endorsement or implementing preventive OCV. Before completing this module, we encourage you to take a short quiz. There are 3 questions in this quiz. Question 1. When is it preferable to initiate the documentation of PAMI identification? A. Once PAMI identification is completed so that all components are solidified. B. As soon as PAMI identification is initiated to document the process near real time. The correct answer is B. It is preferable to initiate the documentation of PAMI identification as soon as PAMI identification is initiated in order to document the process near real time. Question 2. Which countries can benefit from a GTFCC PAMI review? A. Only countries considering implementing preventive OCV and/or submitting their NCP for GTFCC endorsement can benefit from a GTFCC PAMI review. B. GTFCC PAMI reviews are offered to any country that has identified PAMI. The correct answer is B. Any country that has identified PAMI can benefit from a GTFCC PAMI review. Question 3. This is the last question. When is it preferable to request a GTFCC PAMI review? A. Rapidly after PAMI identification is completed before planning interventions in PAMI to facilitate any fine-tuning in the list of PAMI as relevant. B. At the same time as an NCP is submitted for GTFCC endorsement so that all review steps are combined into one. The correct answer is A. It is recommended to request a GTFCC PAMI review rapidly after PAMI identification is completed before planning interventions in PAMI in order to facilitate any fine-tuning in the list of PAMI as relevant. We have now completed the last module of the GTFCC online course on the identification of PAMI for cholera control. Thank you for completing this course. We hope that you found it useful.